finally doing another trigger warning opinions video. This time on feminism. This should be very fun. It's a very broad topic, so I might make subtopic videos including things like rape culture, male privilege, patriarchy, and slut shaming. Because they're relevant, but they're not relevant to this because I wanted to narrow down exactly why. The reasons are that I am against feminism, I don't think we need it, and just why I disagree in general. I also put why I agree in here too, but it's mostly why I disagree. I got most of my opinions listed in here from experience, because on Tumblr, this is where I met most of the feminist people. They were very hostile, hypocritic, inconsistent, just twats, and it definitely helped me form an opinion. I mean, when I was little, I used to think feminism. I heard the word and I'm just like, oh, that means being proud of being a woman. I'm a feminist. And then as I grew older, I realized that's not what it meant. Start with why I disagree. Hypocrisy and inconsistency. Some of the inconsistencies that I have noticed are, a big one is, they can't seem to decide what their cause is. I've narrowed it down to a few different, I don't know, breeds or branches of feminists that I've realized exist. First off, there's the definition feminists. They actually go by what the definition is, or so they say, which is the advocacy of women's rights based on the grounds of political, social, and economic equality to men. Which is cool. But then there's the ones who say it's only to bring women up, and that it's not for men. Some think that men can be feminists, others, they don't want anything to do with men because they think they're just the problem, you know, patriarchy and whatnot. Some even exclude trans women from being in the movement because they say they're not real women, and that's kind of fucked up on a lot of levels. There's the ones who say they're bringing women up, but are actually beating men down with sexist accusations like all men are potential rapists. Everyone's a potential rapist, okay? Everyone's a potential murderer. I'm a potential murderer, but I'm not going to murder anyone because I have self-control and human decency. They're called morals. Empathy, guys. I feel like they're just closet misandrists, and they totally deny that misandry exists, which is, you know, sexism toward men, yet they're so sexist toward men. They say shit like, oh, male tears, and they invalidate men's opinions solely because they are men, and they cannot have any opinion on feminism or women's issues because they are men, which, last time I checked, that's sexist. Hypocrisy. Oh, there's a lot of that I've seen online. Not just Tumblr, outside sites, anything to do with feminism, like within 5 seconds of reading, I'm like, do you not see the loopholes that you're typing out, or are you just that brainwashed? They claim to be for equality, yet their title is pretty gendered, don't you think? I mean, feminism? That's really equal, right? They claim to be for equality, and they deny sexism toward men. They claim to be for equality, and they ignore all male problems, or just, you know, they trivialize them, they ignore them. They claim to be for equality, and they silence all outside opinions. In the links, I'll put some videos where, you know, you've probably seen them, but feminists barge into MRA meetings or just meetings that they disagree with, and they just start making noise, they start being obnoxious, they don't talk civilly, they just kind of, they're just awful. It's like they can't handle a different opinion without just blowing up. Why don't they just argue and, like, debate instead of freaking the fuck out, pulling fire alarms? Again, they claim to be for, like, against sexism, and then they call all men rapists or potential rapists. They ignore female rapists completely. They don't even address that. They see an article about a woman who raped a little boy in class. They don't care about that. They ignore male victims, or they just downplay it to, like, oh, well, women are raped more. Women are raped more because the media doesn't see the men getting raped, because when men are raped or sexually abused, they're laughed at for it, and their suffering is downplayed, and people say shit like, oh, well, you must have liked it because you're a guy, and guys love the pussy, right? They claim to be for women making their own choices, like, oh yeah, you're so liberated, and they'll shame women for making their own choices, like conforming to stereotypical gender roles such as being a housewife, or maybe they wanted to be in porn and, oh, you're supporting rape. It's like, not all porn is rape. I'll make a video about that too, fuck that. Like, if I want to fuck on camera for money, I'll do that. I don't want to, but you know, if I did, I have that choice, because America. I'm not upholding any fucking sexist anything. If I want money for fucking, I'm going to do that. A good example is Blurred Lines. Everyone loves that video, right? With the naked women dancing around the men. Well, do you think they were like forced into that or something? Do you think they didn't have the conscious decision to say, I'm gonna go dance around naked in a music video for money? They obviously wanted to be in it, or they didn't, or like they wouldn't have been in it. Like, it hurts my brain. And just for the record, that song was clearly about a guy talking dirty to a potential mate. And they obviously didn't have a problem with it because fucking there's women dancing around naked. If one of them found something wrong with it, they probably wouldn't do it. Oh, but they have internalized misogyny. They claim to be for liberation, like, oh, I'm a strong, independent female who don't need no man. And then they blame men for everything. It's like that man was raped by a woman. Oh, that's the patriarchy, because the men started the problems, so everything is the men's fault. I don't care who started it. Shouldn't it just be about, you know, ending it? I mean, sure, the cause of the problem is important, but do you actually believe that men caused all problems? Like, even if a man caused the original problem, like, there's also male victims. Are you really going to tell the guy who just got raped that it's his fault for getting raped because he created the patriarchal society? Like, what kind of fucked up logic is that? People are individually responsible for the actions that they do. Okay? It's not some big giant aura of patriarchy. It's individual fucking assholes who make the world a worse place. Except for the government. That's a conglomerate of assholes making the world worse place that happen to be males, but there are also asshole females in the government, so fuck you. Speaking of liberation, the definition of liberation is the act of setting someone free from imprisonment, slavery, or oppression, release. I don't think we're oppressed. You know, like, we're not imprisoned. We're in fucking America. We can get whatever fucking job we want. We can go dress basically how we want. We can't show our nipples, which I'll get to that. That's something that they have a point on. Yeah, we can date who we want. We can get any job that we want. We can basically do whatever we want that a male can. Minus showing our tits. Like, oh no, I can't show my nipples in public. By the way, there are places in America that you can do that. They claim that men's problems don't matter because they happen less, or they may be less severe from, you know, the woman's experience, which, you know, they obviously know more about men suffering than the men does. I mean, if a man speaks for a woman, oh no, he's a sexist. But if a woman speaks for, you know, an entire gender and says, this is how your problems are, this is how bad they are, we're the boss, oh, no one cares. Because women empowerment, right? Right. There are people in other countries who can't drive. They get killed and beaten for being raped. They are forced to cover up. They're sold off as brides at childhood ages. They can't work. They're actually oppressed there. And I think it's funny how they downplay men's issues because they're less severe or they happen less frequently. But then you see them bitching about some guy who had his legs spread out on a subway. Like, if that's going to be your logical path, then we shouldn't bitch at all, and we should be helping them because their issues are more important than ours, right? Frankly, I think all issues are important. If it's hurting someone and that person feels like they are hurting, they should have the right to fix that problem, no matter how bad. I mean, sure, there's priorities, like someone dying versus someone with a scraped knee, but it's kind of subjective and hard gray area, which they don't know how to work with because it's black and white, and if a woman's being hurt, then that's the priority, and if a guy's being hurt, fuck him, male tears, right? Hostility. This is my favorite part about feminists. Okay. Tabloid feminists, mostly. Obviously, everything I'm saying, it's not about all of them, and if you think it is, I'm talking about every single feminist on the earth, you're an idiot. So, the ones I've seen, hostility. If you disagree with them, they will throw personal attacks, insult you, call you names. They'll accuse you of misogyny. I've been called a misogynist so many times, it's great. It's so great. I mean, I'm a woman, I must hate myself, I must just totally be sexist. I should be in the kitchen right now. Why am I not in the kitchen? Oh my god. there's sandwiches to be made. Oh, they're so intolerant of anyone who identifies with, like, something else and calls it equality. When you say you're anti-feminist, you're automatically regarded as a misogynist somehow. I don't know how they think that if you don't believe in feminism, then you hate women, I guess? Like, like, if you go on to say, I'm anti-feminist, but I believe in equality, you're like, well, you just described feminism. Yes, but there's other definitions, there's other words with similar definitions that also have equality in the meaning. Like, libertarian and egalitarian and equalist, humanists. I happen to not like feminism because they have a very corrupt history and present, and I can still believe in equality without believing in feminism. Okay? Is that clear? So I do believe in equality, I just don't believe in feminist view of equality because I think, personally, I've observed a lot of loopholes and a lot of just double standards, and I don't like it because double standards aren't equality. There are some parts that I agree with, but it was hard to put these together because even though I was writing them, I saw a loophole in them while I was writing them because I realized almost everything that I wrote down applied to both genders. Let's start. Gender roles. I don't like gender roles. But see, they affect both sides. It's not just women. Like toys. I don't like going down in Walmart and Target and just seeing this giant pink aisle and then seeing the cool blue aisle, and it's like, I want their toys. They're cool toys. And it's like, I mean, we got the My Little Pony stuff in this aisle, and I like My Little Pony, but what about the building blocks and shit, you know? I think that should be dealt with. Gender roles. Teach kids that there's not just one color of toy you can like, and you're not terrible for liking the other color, you know? Sexual harassment. I've dealt with this. I do deal with this at work because men are creepy, and I don't understand what 50-plus-year-old men, like, I don't understand how they think it's okay to talk to someone half their age, that could be their daughter, and say sexual-related things, like, hey, beautiful, or, it's hot outside, this is like go home and put your bikini on. Like, you're 50. No. However, like, adult women could say that to little boys, and it would still be very inappropriate, but it's looked at less weird because we have some idea that, I don't know, men are supposed to have female contact and that they should be happy for being sexually harassed. Abortion rights, I think it's mostly a women's issue just because we're the ones with the uterus, so we need, you know, to have that right, but it's also only in certain states. And then, you know, there's trans men who can, of course, get pregnant, but female issue. But abortion thing, that's only in certain states. There are plenty of states that you can get an abortion, and just use birth control and you won't have to get an abortion. Or there's a very less likely chance of you having to. I have a video all about abortion, so that's irrelevant. Stereotypes. So, it affects, again, both sides. There's plenty of stereotypes. I could make a fucking novel on stereotypes of each gender. That goes again with gender roles. I guess that's kind of intertwined. Like that women have to be housewives in the kitchen, and then that men have to be these big muscular guys doing the, making the pay, bringing home the bread, and it's stupid. Sexualization of bodies. I think there's a huge double standard with tits and then man tits. Like, we both have nipples, we both have breast tissue. The dog won't shut the fuck up, I'm sorry. The only difference is we make baby milk. But guys can actually do that too, which is funny. Biology is weird. So I think that's actually a gender-specific issue to women, the breast thing. And feminists always say that women are so hypersexualized in the media, but they fail to see the giant buff guys in video games and TV. And just apparently it's only a women's issue because skin is showing and we're sexy, big, busty. I don't know, sexualization happens to both genders in all kinds of media, so shut up about it. Some more things that they portray as women's issues that actually affect both genders. So basically everything I just mentioned, besides like the boob thing and abortion. Rape. Women may be accused of the rape being their fault, saying, oh, you were dressing this way, or you shouldn't have been there at that time. But men get the same thing, like I said with the sexual harassment. They'll get laughed at, and they often won't come forward, which reduces rape statistics because they will be laughed at, told that they liked it, told that they wanted it. This happens to women too, though. But for guys, because of the whole gender role of being masculine and having to be, you know, the boss and not being pushed around, they're not going to want it because they're ashamed that they had that power taken away from them. Body image. Men and women both suffer from things like eating disorders and body dysmorphia, and we all have issues with our body. We're all capable. It's not a fucking female thing. It's a female and a male thing. Boy and girl, everyone has problems with their body. Unless, of course, you don't. But, you know, we're all capable of having problems with our body. Sexual freedom. Women are, you know, slut-shamed for having sex with a lot of guys, but guys are also shamed. Have you heard the term man whore? You know? And just say it's only women getting shamed for fucking is ridiculous. I believe we should all have the freedom to fuck whoever we want, however many people we want. Might not be for you, might not be for me, but other people, it doesn't affect us. So just leave them alone, you know? Though, like someone mentioned, I'm linking them in the video, but they mentioned how it can affect your relationships, because if you meet someone and they fuck 20 people, then they could have possibility of diseases. You're going to want them to get tested, and it's really awkward, and there's a whole bunch of stuff to talk about, and so just be aware that even if you have that freedom, there may be consequences that come with that freedom, and it's not the other person being a bigot or being intolerant, it's just them being, like, cautious of their own health sometimes. Again, on gender roles, it affects both people, because men are expected to be masculine and bring home the bread, and women are supposed to be all dainty and feminine and please their man, and it depends also on who you're talking to, because one person might think that that's bullshit and one person might not. Like, you could say this is a society issue and society as a whole, but I think that's kind of a stupid thing to say, because society is, you would say media, I guess, but society is made up of individuals. It's like 40% think this, 60% think that, but often, like, the people I hang out with, I never hear any of this shit. Like, I very rarely hear any of this shit. So it's definitely the people you hang out with, the part of the world you live in, all that kind of stuff affects these stereotypes and problems. Why I really don't think we need feminism here in the US. To put it simply, we're not oppressed, okay? I think feminism had its time, and I'm greatly thankful for those people who stood up and got us rights. Men and women stood up and got women rights. We couldn't vote, we couldn't, like, get good jobs, we were expected to stay at home, and they fixed that, and now we have rights, and I think we should be extremely thankful to them. And I think it's kind of insulting when women go around, fucking feminists go around, and they're all like, oh, that guy had his legs out on the subway. It's like, bitch, there are people in other countries dying because they got raped, and then they're accused of, like, being a whore, and then they get killed, and you're complaining about some guy in the subway displaying his masculinity in your face. It's like, no. There are people with way bigger problems, and I hate to use that argument like they have bigger problems so they matter more, but some of the things feminists complain about are just so trivial that don't matter, and I really think that they're that trivial that they just don't matter. Like the subway thing. I don't understand how that matters. You know, we have freedom of speech. If we don't like something that someone says, we can speak up. We don't have to be nice about it, but, you know, there's a better chance of changing someone's mind if you're nice about it than being an asshole. But you can use that freedom of speech to change people's minds about things you think are, you know, problematic. I hate that word because of Tumblr. Or harmful to other people. I think for the most part, gender equality issues have been solved, like, politically and economically, like the wage gap. I've heard countless times that that's bullshit. And I get $8 an hour, and my coworkers who got a promotion get $8 an hour. And he's a guy, so there's no wage gap there. Unless you're talking about, like, higher-ups, that on average this person makes more. Maybe they work more. Like, without that, there are plenty of social inequalities to tackle, like all the things I mentioned and the things that I agree with about some of the things that feminists bring up. But focusing on one gender's problems isn't going to fix both of them. Saying, oh, men are doing everything wrong, that's why we have these problems, isn't going to fix it. It's just going to make other people more hostile. Why don't we, the only way to fix this is to start from scratch. The only surefire way is, start from scratch. Teach your children that there are better ways to handle situations, that your life will be better if you treat people equally instead of on these stereotypes and blah blah blah. And just spread the knowledge you have, and the people who will listen, and you have a convincing argument, they'll listen, they'll change their minds, and progress will be made. And then there's some people who are just bigots, who have very conservative ideas, and they won't change, and you just gotta deal with that. They'll die out. It sounds awful, but it's true. If they're doing something really terrible, like hurting people physically, then they can go to jail. It's another solution. In the end, an ideology will not save you from rape. It will not save you from harassment. It won't save you from sexism. So, I guess in the end, any ideology, so just like saying humanism, feminism, doesn't really matter in the end. It's just a label. But these people who identify as feminists, I don't like what they stand for. And saying I need feminism because, you need equality. You need, knowledge to be put out there. You need education. Because without education, these people will remain ignorant, and these stereotypes and awful things will continue to happen. You don't need an ideology. You just need education. And I'm sure in a lot of my videos that will be a reoccurring thing, because if you educate people, then they will be educated, and, they won't be assholes. I really think education and empathy are the two things that you need to make a good society. Have some empathy for people, do unto others, they won't be jerks. Pretty simple. And the only way to solve these problems is through the children and through spreading knowledge. So you can see there's some things that I agree with in feminism, but there's also a lot of things I disagree with. So in the end, I'd rather just identify with something that covers both genders for sure, than to have this debate with people who do these things. Why would I associate with something that has a gendered title that, for the most part appeals to women, when I could just identify with something that for sure appeals to both genders and helps both genders? And all people, for that matter, like racism, sexism, all that. If you disagree with me, then, send me a message. Please try to put forth an argument instead of just calling me a stupid misogynist, because it's really old and you're not changing my mind, you're just making me want to punch a wall. Subscribe. I'm going to try to make more political videos. Critique is good, because I know that I just took a lot of notes to make this not sound totally terrible. So, critique on maybe order of information would be good. Stuff like that. Thank you for watching my awful long rant. When I put on red lipstick as a homage to feminists. Oh, look at that, it's red. Like feminist. You get it? You get it? Because they put the red lipstick on and they're all, I'm so liberated, I'm a free woman.